That morning, I picked my brother up. We was heading to Bedford to a junkyard to hopefully find a rebuildable car for him. And as we was riding up that way, I spotted what I thought was a '85 Mustang, first of all, and I was interested in those. I told my brother we're going to stop and look at that when we come back. So we came back and we ate lunch there at Arby's and spotted the car again. So I went over there, and it wasn't what I thought it was. It was a different year, but this was sitting in the garage. So I asked the lady about it, and she said, yeah, it was for sale. Came back home later on that evening, and I went to go get a couple other friends to help me go pick it up. But they was tied up doing other things, and so called on old Reliable here, and he said, sure, we'll go pick it up. We went up there and got the car loaded. He guided me up there on the trailer, and he locked the front end down, and he went to the rear and locked the rear down. And I went to put another strap on the rear, and as I was fiddling with the rear, I heard a thump. Looked back there, and Mr. Whitmer was on the ground. And the fella that I bought the car for, Mr. McCoy, he asked him, was he okay? And then he darted into the house to get his wife. And meanwhile, I'm down there yelling at Mr. Whitmer, and I start beating on him. And I start yelling at him and asking him, what are you doing to me? And I was doing, I was already beating on his chest, and Mrs. McCoy came outside. She was already on the phone talking to rescue, and she handed the phone to her husband and said, we got to start CPR. And I was pumping for all I can do, and she was breathing for him. And I just remember the trainer at CPR class said, don't mind if you hear anything crack or feel anything crack, just keep pumping. So that's what I done. And 10 days prior to that, my wife and I had just taken CPR classes. After that, after first responders got there, helped with the breathing. Mrs. McCoy and I both did. And once more of the responders got there, they shocked him twice there. I left my truck sitting there with the car and everything, hopped in the ambulance, and we rode to Bedford Hospital.
And so really did not know anything how this happened or what until I got to Bedford. And the doctor said that my husband had a heart attack and that they were getting ready to transport him to Roanoke.
They were talking about transporting him to Roanoke for continued treatment. And we said, well, why wouldn't he go to Lynchburg? Because he lived closer to Lynchburg than Roanoke. And they said Lynchburg didn't have the treatment that he needed, and they said he needed the hypothermic treatment. So they said they had a rescue squad coming from Roanoke to come pick him up, and that the rescue squad that was picking him up would be able to, they put him on ice there in Bedford, cold packs and bags of ice, and they said that the transport vehicle coming from Roanoke would be able to keep that going. And then when he got to Roanoke, they would continue it on there.
By the time we got to Roanoke Hospital, our daughter and her family, our pastor, and our son and his family, they all showed up. And it was really important for me to have all of them there with me because they were younger, they could remember things better than I could, and they knew what kind of questions to ask.
The Roanoke, they said that there were some procedures they wanted, some testing they wanted to do to see what all was going on, and they found out he had artery disease and that he was going to need bypass surgery, but they wasn't sure if there was any brain damage or anything, and they wanted him to wake up to evaluate that before they could go ahead and do any sort of surgery. But they said the hypothermic treatment had to go for 24 hours. So once that finished, they started backing him off on his medication to see, you know, how to evaluate his mental capacity. And they thought everything was okay, best they could tell. So they decided to go ahead with the surgery. And it was a 4-way bypass that they ended up doing.
I just remember after his surgery in ICU, he started coming out of the anesthesia and stuff. First time he was able to, you know, focus on the people in the room, and you could actually tell that he knew who you were, and that everything was going to be okay from that point on. And you know, he told me one day that he was going to have to get a snowplow put on his truck so that he could plow the parking lot at the church, because he usually does it on his tractor. So he knew he wasn't going to be able to handle the elements anymore. He was going to have to get a snowplow for his truck, he said. And so we knew right then and there that, you know, his mind was in the right place, and he was going to be good.
From the very beginning, I think everyone was very nice. Starting with the driver of the transport vehicle, he was concerned about me, asked me if he was scaring me, and I told him no. I said, we're in God's hands. And I think he was the one that even took me to the waiting room and asked me if my family was coming to be with me. But everyone was very nice. The doctors and nurses would come out each day and keep us informed of what was going on while my husband was in CCU. And once he went to ICU, some of the nurses I remember there, they were just all very nice and helpful. And even the volunteers who worked out there in the waiting room were very kind. And I remember the chaplain, she was very concerned and for us. And I just think everybody, you know, who helped out from the beginning till the time that he left the hospital, everybody was very committed, very concerned and caring people.
I have no idea when I went with my son-in-law or any of the things that took place in the hospital. I have no recollection whatsoever. Probably the first thing that I could remember is with my wife and the nursing staff, that trying to feed myself. But I had a real problem in controlling the silverware, and they came up with some ideas on how to help me to handle my forks and spoons and help me to prevent from spilling food all down to my front of my clothes. And that was a great thing. And the nursing staff and everybody was just fantastic. And you know, what I can remember when they helped me, you know, to whatever they was doing, everybody was just as nice. The recollection that I have that stands out in my mind most is when I got ready to leave, there was a big black gentleman that helped me outside get in my wife's vehicle, and he was just a super nice guy. I was greatly appreciative of him and everybody else.